All right, then the first question on the review was, what is e-commerce? This was the first thing that the author mentioned in the chapter. The buying and selling of goods and services on the internet. That's taken right from the book. So you should know or be able to define e-commerce. Again, that's right at the beginning of the chapter, right after the objectives. Number 2, what are advantages of e-commerce for business? What are advantages of e-commerce for customers? For businesses, let's put it this way. Remember for businesses, remember that one. Remember reduced costs. All right? All of this stuff, though, is important. But businesses, they're not necessarily going to, none of that doesn't really make a lot of sense. Especially the comparison shopping doesn't make sense for businesses. Everybody have that one? All right. Number 3, what are disadvantages? And that shouldn't be os, it should be loss. Again, these were taken right directly from the book. Any questions on number 1 or number 2 or number 3? All right, number 4, what product sells the best for e-commerce? And this was a chart that was in your book. The last figures they had were from 2013. They were clothing, accessories, and footwear. $40 billion. The amount isn't important. What's important is that you know that it's clothing, accessories, and footwear. Number 5, how does a website owner can obtain? That's very good. How does a website owner obtain a digital certificate? They contact a certificate authority and they apply for it. This can typically be done online. Is there a cost? Of course, because very few people do anything anymore for free. Number 6, what is a big problem or issue with international e-commerce and its currency conversion? I don't know if you've ever done that. If you've ever gone to Canada and seen the difference between money in Canada and the United States, for example. All right. When we get to, it'll be more than a year from now, but when we get to the Android stuff, I'll show you a currency converter that I built, you know, with the class. We're not going to have enough time to probably build more than 1 or 2 things as a class, but I'll show you, I'll give you some code for some other stuff, and one of them is a currency converter. What is cyber squatting? And we talked about this before this chapter. And that's when you go and you register a domain name that you think someone else will want so that they will pay you money to get it from you. I would be fairly certain that, for example, some of the rising stars from the Democratic and the Republican convention probably already have their names .com. They already own those domains. The guy who's, I think he's the sheriff of Milwaukee, he's known, I mean, he's got a national reputation. He's a hard guy. All right? And there's a lot of talk that he may run eventually for political office, so he probably has that. But if Amin said, no, he doesn't have that yet, and he's probably going to want it, and he bought that domain, then he could cyber squat on it and try to get the sheriff to buy it from him. That stuff happens all the time. Anybody ever hear the story? I don't know if it's Disneyland or Disney World. They bought all that land. Again, I don't remember if it was Florida or California, but there was 1 acre in the middle of it. The farmer wouldn't sell. They offered him $1 million, and he wouldn't sell. So they built around him. Basically said, you know, Walt Disney basically said, screw you. All right? Person was cyber squatting on their land, for lack of better words. What are two disadvantages of instant online storefronts? One, you're not given a lot of choice as far as colors and templates. They're very generic templates, so they all kind of look alike. Number 2, they may limit the number of products you can sell. All right? Because a lot of these instant things are either free or darn close to being free. That's part of the reason that you've got these disadvantages. Okay, number 9. Most commercial e-commerce hosting packages provide an online catalog, a shopping cart, and a secure order form. Remember, that secure order form means that it'll be HTTPS is what they're talking about. That's the first half. Any questions on any of those first 9? Number 10, what is symmetric encryption? It is an encryption method that uses single shared private key. All right? Single shared private key encryption method. Number 11, what is EDI? It's an acronym that stands for Electronic Data Interchange. and it's the transfer of data between different companies using networks. So it's an electronic transfer of data. It's doing business electronically. So your purchase orders, your purchase order, acknowledgments, receipts, everything is done online. Number 12, what is a digital certificate? It's a type of asymmetric key that contains additional information about the entity holding the certificate. If you have a digital certificate, what that says is that you've registered with some kind of a governing body that says you are literally who you say you are and doing what you say you're doing. Number 13, that's simple. What protocol allows data to be privately exchanged over public networks? SSL. SSL is an acronym that stands for Secure Socket Layer. Today, more often than not, rather than being called SSL, it's usually called, what is it? I think it's TLS for Transport Layer Socket. You don't need to know that for the test, though. So SSL. Number 14. That wasn't in red. What term describes a virtual wallet? And that's called a digital wallet. Number 15, what is near field communication, or NFC? It's a communication mechanism that uses radio frequency to share information between devices that are close to one another or in close proximity. Number 16, what is ciphertext and what is clear text? Ciphertext is encrypted data. Clear text is unencrypted data. (17) What is encryption and what is decryption? Encryption is converting data into an unreadable form. Decryption is taking encrypted data and putting it into a readable form. And finally, the last one. What is a merchant account? A type of business bank account that allows a business to accept credit card payments. So by the end of the period tomorrow, all right, by the end of the period tomorrow, we will have finished that class or a course, whatever you want to call it, from udemy.com. You will have taken the test, and if iwt.rankin.edu is okay, we will convert everything over. On Wednesday, I'm going to go over the test with you, okay? The one that you took, the hands-on one, all right? Anybody need any of these repeated? All right. I've looked at them. I haven't sat down and like started like nitpicking. I will tell you that to a person, every time you're doing this, it's getting better. All right, they're looking much more professional. So again, we're changing the written test to tomorrow. And if you notice, tomorrow and Wednesday are both supposed to be days, lab days, for us to do that, whatever. And then on Thursday, we're going to do the last 2 chapters of the book, 13 and 14. That's it. Then we're going to look at, I don't know what this is, a do-it-yourself conversion practice lab. I'll have to look that up. But the point is, when you look, we only have about 2 more weeks, okay? Around 2 more weeks. So about 2 weeks from Friday is the last day that we'll be working on pure HTML stuff. So then about 3 weeks from today, which will be what, the 24th? In fact, we do it before that. 21st, we start into the JavaScript. So make sure at that time you start bringing your books. All right. I should not need, you shouldn't need the other book after that. I don't know why you would. All right, because that is all that I had, period. You've already, as far as, you're going to have. But it can be, so you can just leave it. That's fine. So by now, you should have a pretty good idea of what's going on. Absolute positioning. Because the reason I had you do it like that is twofold. One is, in case you screw up tomorrow, in case you just really screw up big time and you don't know what you did, you can always go and remove that whole folder, for example, and copy that template one over again. So you've got a copy of it. The other thing is, I showed you that thing that I built that has the JavaScript and stuff in it, and I said, hopefully we can look at next week. That's where we're going to start from. All right, so you will all have that. We'll change the colors and stuff. I'm not concerned with that stuff. All right, questions? All right, so as soon as you come in, 8:05 clicks tomorrow, you've got the whole amount of time. If it doesn't take you that long, fine. Just stay in here and do other things. If everyone
Did you still have a question, Brady, or did you figure out?
All right, that was a pleasant waste of a half an hour, and you see now why they would never have